Hello, welcome back to Family and Community Relationships. Hopefully, this lecture will have better sound than the last one. Let me share my screen with you. All right, I think you should be seeing the PowerPoint now. We are talking about it takes a village, looking at families, teachers, and communities, and how we all work together to best meet the needs of our children. So here are some preview questions, like we have every time. What do you consider to be the community resources that support families and schools? Think about all of the resources in your community, whether you're in the Scottsbluff Gearing area, whether you're up in the Northern Panhandle, whether you're out of state, um, or anywhere else. Think about like your local community and consider what resources are available there for families and for schools. Do you have good relationships with your local library? Are you able to go and visit the library with your students? Are you able to invite the local children's librarian to come in to read once a week or once a month? Um, if you are in an area like Scottsbluff where there's a community college, are you able to go in and um, use some of their resources? What about food banks and pantries and um, maybe some other types of assistance that parents might need for help with their electric bill occasionally or paying their rent? So think about all of the resources in your community and what is available to the parents in your area locally. What is your understanding of Bronfenbrenner's theory of ecological development? And we've talked about that in several other courses. So hopefully that's ringing a bell with you at least. But we're gonna look at it a little bit more here. But try to remember back to some of the other classes when we did discuss that and look at the like it's like the inner ring and the rings go farther and farther out. So the ring closest to the child has the most impact. What do you know about legislative issues that affect families, about corporate involvement in family support? There's a lot going on right now in our country that's going to have a big impact on education and on the types of resources that are going to be available for our children and families. So it would be good for you to kind of stay up on that. Um, and then what is the role of advocate? How can you advocate for the best interests of the children in your care and their families? Okay, so lots to consider. Working together, complementary and reinforcing roles of children. The home, the school, the community, we should all be working together to best meet the needs of our children. Sometimes that feels like maybe we're not working together as well as we could or we should. But what can we do as teachers to help make that happen? Um, Looking at Bronfenbrenner's theory of ecological systems, if you haven't gone over that in your textbook, I would really encourage you to do that. Look at the different levels, the the different pieces of that system, and how the family has the biggest impact on the children. The school or daycare where they spend a lot of time has a big impact on the children. And then in the next level would be like their community, like the local parks, the local stores, the anything that's local. And then a little bit farther out would be like the parents' jobs and how that might impact the child. Maybe not directly, but if the parents have a bad day at work, or if they get laid off at work, or lose their job completely, that's going to have a huge impact on the child. and then look at farther out where we look at state laws and um, different kinds of policies and things that may not directly impact the child, but could impact the family in an indirect way. Okay. So Bronfenbrenner's theory is a really important one for you to really understand and think about how different things might affect the child, even if it's not directly. Corporate involvement, employers supported childcare. We don't have a lot of that locally. um, there are daycares and preschools where if one of the parents works there, they might get reduced or half the cost of childcare or something like that. But to have like a daycare in a work area, we don't see that locally very much. In fact, we see that more in much more urban areas than we do in rural areas like in Western Nebraska. um, Work and family issues, trying to, it depends on the family structures are so different and varied. If it's a single parent working, trying to make ends meet, that's going to be different issues for that family than if it's um, a two-parent household where one parent works day shift and the other parent works night shift, so they don't have to um, afford childcare, but they still have to send their child to preschool or school if their child is old enough. So different families will have different issues, and we just need to understand as much about each individual family that we are working with so that we can help them meet the needs the best that we can. Parental leave and support, and this would be like maternity leave, um, fraternal leave, I think is what it's called when fathers have time off after a child's birth. What kind of support do their jobs give them? Do they allow them time off, or is it like bare minimum, or sometimes none at all? Sometimes if you are not a full-time employee, you may not get some of that leave. Your job may not be guaranteed when you try to come back from leave. So um, those could be stresses that our parents are experiencing as well. Legislative initiatives, we have the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, TANF, Family Medical Leave Act, FMLA. If a parent is, if they get sick or if they, something serious happens and they have to take more than just a couple of days sick leave, this can go into effect. And the No Child Left Behind Act, and we've talked about that in other classes as well, but these all can have an impact on the children we're working with. Again, maybe not directly, but indirectly, they definitely can impact the children. Linkages within the community. So look at Shore's 7 attributes of highly effective community programs, and look at that in the textbook. It goes in depth into what that is. And think about like your community where you are, and if you agree with that, or if you see any signs of any of those effective community programs in your community. And hopefully you do. Collaboration of agencies. Do agencies work together to make sure a family's needs are being met? For example, WIC, working together with CAPA and working together with DHHS. Are they all working together to make sure that a family's needs are all met? Resource files for family referrals. So look back at the resource file that you created. Is it complete? Are there resources in your file that are missing? Do you need to add to that? That should be a working document that you should be able to continue to add to as you do more research and find out more about what's in your community. Look on online. There are different places that might house resources in Nebraska for families. See if you can find some of those and add some of that information to your own resource file that you built and have that available for families, or even print it off and give it to them at the beginning of the year during orientation. Some programs in their family handbook do have some resources. They may not have all of the resources, but they probably have several. So maybe you can look at your program's parent handbook and see if that's in there, or see if anyone in your program or school has a resource file. And if it's any different than yours, if you can add some of that to yours as well. All right, teachers and parents as advocates, we need to be visible. We need to become informed. We need to know what's going on in the legislation. We need to know what's going on with some of the things that are coming down that are going to have an impact on education or have an impact on our programs, the funding for our programs in particular. Tell the story. Don't be afraid to be open with other people in the community and let them know what's going on, how those kinds of things are impacting your program, your children, your job. Adapt and replicate when you see other people doing things that are proactive and really advocating for the best needs of the children. Follow suit, right? Ask them if you can be a part of their group. Join professional organizations that can have an impact. Connect with the community power structure. Who in your community can you connect with to kind of make sure that your voice is being heard? Who's your local elected officials? Who's on your school board or your parent advisory board or your policy council for your program? Make those connections and make sure your voice is being heard. Contact your representatives, your state representatives, that it's important that you let legislators know what our needs are here in like Western Nebraska, if that's where you are. I know sometimes we have students that are out of state, so we contact your state legislators and let them know what the needs are where you are. And I mean, remember to vote. You know, we have a powerful voice and we're just one person, yes, but our voices add up when we all make a point to go out and vote. All right, community as an education resource. What are the natural resources in your community? Locally, we have we have the Wildcat Hills that are very near. We have Scottsbluff Monument, which is near. Where are you located, and what are some of those natural resources that you may have near you? State parks, national parks, anything like that would be considered a natural resource. What about the people as resources in your community? What about the parents of the children in your classroom? What talents and knowledge do they have that they might be able to come in and share with your class? What are the material resources that you have locally? Do you have a Salvation Army that you can form a good relationship with, where you can get donated books and maybe some changes of clothes for those kids who might still be having bathroom accidents, things like that? What about other places in your community that might have things that they might donate? We're going into the holiday season right now, but think about all of the harvesting that's been going on. Are there people or places that might donate pumpkins or the little tiny gourds or something like that to your program at no charge for your children to use? Just continue to think about what's in your community, in your local area. Service learning experiences for children, what can you think of for that? Have you ever taken a nature hike and had children pick up trash along the way, or gone to a local park and had them clean up the park? And of course, we want to scout the area before we take children to make sure there's nothing inappropriate or dangerous for them in that area, right? So we need to make sure we do that. Um, but what about doing some recycling activities in the classroom, or helping them learn how to recycle things that might otherwise just be thrown away, like milk jugs or something like that that we could build an igloo out of outside when it gets colder. So just think about some of those things that we might be able to help our children get involved with in a safe way. Always be safe. All right, think about what's an issue in your community around which parents and teachers could unite as advocates? What could the first steps in action be? Is this your responsibility? It is. It's not solely your responsibility, but as a contributing member to your society and to your local community, it is your responsibility. It's all of our responsibility to look and see what is it that our community needs, and how can we make that happen, or make a change to be more more productive for our children and families. So just something to really consider. In summary, children benefit from actions by corporations, legislation, and linkages between community agencies. And those, all of those should be working together for the best interests of our children and families. That's what our society should be doing. Sometimes it doesn't look like that's always happening, but how can we help improve that situation? Parents and teachers have obligations as advocates to support children's development and education. And it's not just our responsibility. It's not just the parents' responsibility. We need to work together with our school administration, with our programs, and with different organizations and entities in our community, right, to help advocate for the best, what's in the best interest of our children. The community can provide resources to support children and families, and children can become involved in their communities through service learning. And so think about your resource files and what's available to families, and then think about how can we help children get more involved in some of that community service. And it doesn't necessarily need to be out in the community if it's not safe for them to be out, but what are some creative ways that we can get them to be involved in that type of service learning? Recycling is always a really great one, a great place to start. All right, so what questions do you have at this point? I know we covered a lot of information pretty quickly, but please, if you have questions at all, don't hesitate to ask, okay? I'm here for you. We can meet in person, we can meet on Zoom, or you can just send me a message with your question.